Hello, and thank you again for coming and listening to us on the Adventure Habits Pod. I'm David Overton from our sponsors Splash Maps, and I'm absolutely delighted to have before you once again another inspirational adventurer. And today we've got Steve Till, and Steve has represented Great Britain internationally in long distance running. He's also a coach and author of the book The Run of Life. Is that right, Steve?
That is right. In fact, surprisingly, I've got a copy here, so everyone can see it.
I thought you'd have one of those to hand, just in case.
Just in case
you've forgotten the exact phraseology or something.
That's right.
I also know Steve as a fantastic wordsmith as well, and I've met Steve both in his capacity as a runner, but also in the work that he does, making magic with words, as I've heard on many occasions at networking events, etc., dotted around Hampshire, where we both live.
Indeed. Well, I hope my performance in this podcast lives up to your great introduction there, David.
Well, yeah, and it's but I mean, I guess with this one, we're probably going to talk more about running than anything else. And it's very few people that can claim in their long-running, illustrious career that they were there running. Was that the very first London Marathon?
Yes. Yeah, 1981 was the first London Marathon. But my story starts 10 years before that, in fact.
Oh, go on. Tell us all about it.
All right. Well, I will try and be brief. So, on the 10th of August 1971, I watched the European 10,000 metres Championships on TV, black and white TV back then. And it was an amazing race. Dave Bedford of Great Britain led for the first 24 of 25 laps. Then Juha Veitainen of Finland and Jürgen Haase of East Germany. Stay with me, folks, because this will get more interesting. They burst past him and ran the last 400 metres in 53 seconds. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. And I had watched Brazil with Pelé win the World Cup the year before, 1970. But that faded into nothing compared with that last lap. And I was so inspired. I went outside. This was sort of 8, 9 o'clock at night. Went outside and I ran up and down the hill outside the house because I just wanted to be part of that world. I thought it was just amazing what they had done. They looked like sprinters running around that last lap, even though they'd done 10,000 metres. I wanted to be part of that world of endurance and of pain, yes. And it's just started from there. Football receded in my interest, if you like, and athletics, and in particular running, of course, took over.
What a wonderful first inspiration and catalyst for it as well. And I suppose at that very young age, you can't really know what it is that's driving these people to do what they do, but you seem to have picked up on the magic of the output of the whole thing. You know, that final bit of who's got it left in the tank, who can actually complete their mission in that way.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, those championships came from Helsinki, and the Finn prevailed by a yard over the East Germans. So obviously the crowd went absolutely mad. So that just added to the excitement of the occasion. So that started me running, and I ran, and I thought I was getting really good, and I ran around the back garden late at night, and I thought I was doing, like nearly a 4-minute mile. And then the other part of my story is, come the next year, 1972, was Olympic year, and I thought, well, I must be in with a chance of getting in the team, of winning at least one gold medal, if not more, at the Munich Olympics later in 1972. So when school sports day came round and I competed in the 1,500 metres and came last, it was a bit of a reality check. I thought, well, maybe my Olympic dream is over. I was 14 years old, so maybe Olympic gold medals were not really on the cards. But it sort of proves to me, okay, I haven't got much talent, so I need to work really hard. So my story just went on from there. I did more and more running and trained harder and harder, and eventually, when the distances became ever longer, I found my niche in ultra distance running.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about being persistent. You've got a dream. You got to, you notice that catalyst, and then you basically found your niche within it. And so tell us about that realization of it being kind of ultra distance that you've ended up in.
Yeah, I trained really hard, and I did some decent times at 5,000, 10,000, half marathon, marathon, and I won a few local races, but I knew I was never going to represent Great Britain at those distances. I simply didn't have the natural talent. But ultra distances came onto the horizon, and there were more and more. This is going back to the early 90s, late 80s, and early 90s. And I found that as the distance got longer, so I finished nearer the front of the field. And then I realised around 92, 93 that there were British vests up for grabs. There were world championships, there were European championships at 100 kilometres and 24 hours. And I thought, and a light bulb went off in my head. I thought, if I could just get one of those British vests, if I could just represent my country at one of those very long distances, I could die happy. and when I fixed on that target, it made everything else very simple. I suddenly realised, okay, I need to train very hard. I need to do very long runs, and I need to do all the right races, and I need to, perform well and hope not too many other people in the country also get the same idea and are slightly better than me, if you like. But it was a real light bulb moment. It was a real, blimey, yes, if I could just get, a British vest at 24 hours, that would be absolutely fantastic. So
This is, I mean, this is a great example of, the goal, having something to pin yourself to in the future,
yeah,
that actually helps you with your focus and and moving. So you've gone beyond. Yeah, I love that as the distances got longer, you arrived nearer the top each time.
yes,
So you've almost got a metric that's running there that came before the ultimate goal, and then seeing the GB vest is now the aim.
yeah.
Great. I mean, I can see how this is constructing and why you might have become a coach as well. Kind of.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, ultra distances are the last refuge of the untalented runner, I would say, and certainly I was.
I
I
need to
was
give it
that.
more of a go in that case.
Yep, yeah.
Okay. Well, and so I mean, what a great career. And then once you started doing ultra, I mean, I read that you've the and that's in running and Olympic walking, is it that you were doing as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, I did for a time between 1976 and 84. I was primarily a race walker. So,
Hmm.
yes, I won national medals at race walking. And later on, then national medals at ultra distance running.
Yeah.
So the race walking was something. I suppose it was something a bit like ultra running. Before I sort of discovered a talent for ultra running, I thought, well, maybe I can get nearer the top of the pile in long distance walking, which I did. I came second in the London to Brighton walk a couple of times. I became a centurion, which is walking 100 miles in 24 hours. So I had a fair degree of success at that. But when I thought about what do I really want to do, the ultra distance running won out, if you like. That was what really excited me and made me think that I could possibly reach near the top of the pile.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just letting that settle in to my mind. Just being able to walk 100 miles in 24 hours.
Yeah,
I just asked our listeners to just consider what that actually means. It's an extraordinary feat,
yeah,
and yeah, and yeah, that's the caliber of people we have on this show. So
yes,
that's great. And so all of that. I mean, you've had a lot of accolades from the running, and ultimately you've ended up coaching people in their running. And that was the real trigger for me to think, right, okay, this isn't a guy who's just accomplished. This is a guy that wants to share what he's learned through his accomplishments, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here
sure,
on Adventure Habits. Not, I can't pass on much. I haven't done as much as all the adventurers we have on here, but if we can actually get those habits out to people, then we think we can improve their adventures and improve their lives as a result. Hopefully, you'd buy into that one as well, right, Steve?
Absolutely. I mean, I felt that running, and I feel now to this day that running has given me so much that if I can give something back to other people and help them with their ambitions, their targets, then that's great, and that gives me more satisfaction. I mean, I'm never going to set another personal best. Let's be honest. I'm 68 years old. I can set age group personal bests, which is great to keep me going. But I'm never going to set another personal best. So I get more satisfaction from, my son or my daughter or my friends or the other people I coach, doing a personal best. I mean, one of the people I coach, James, he knocked 6 minutes off his half marathon personal best a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. And we had sat down 6 months ago. After I'd worked with him for a year or so, and we'd sat down 6 months ago and we'd set this target, and I'd done the schedule for him, and he followed it. He was really dedicated, and he went out on the day and he did a 6 minute personal best, and he was over the moon, and so was I, to be honest, because I feel that is the major contribution I can make to the running world, if you like, now, to coach people to reach their ambitions.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. And presumably all of that is encapsulated within a certain book.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So my book, The Run of Life, it has bits of my story in it, but it's more about the stories that have inspired me. So it's the stories of people you will have heard of, like Brendan Foster and Steve Overton and Seb Coe. It's also stories of people I've coached, of people I know who have, like James, who's fixed on an idea, an ambition, a target, and gone for it and been dedicated, and maybe have had obstacles along the way, injuries, illness, things going wrong, how to get over those. So the book is a collection of stories and a collection of ideas, and it's really not prescriptive. It's not preaching. It's just a bit of some ideas about how to make the best of your. I mean, the subtitle is "How Any Runner Can Reach Their Mountaintop," and that's what I'd like to see, and that's what I hope this book can do for people, just to help them a little bit along the way to reach their mountaintop. That's really what it's all about.
Right, fantastic. And in that regard, it's actually aimed at anybody who runs, really, isn't it? It's
absolutely, how any runner can reach their mountaintop. Yeah, wherever you start. If you're an international ultra runner, yes, that there's help in there for you. But if you're just starting out running, you'd love to be able to run the entire 5K of a park run, or even run a mile in less than 12 minutes, let's say. Wherever you start from, if you want to get to the next level, then there are ideas, there's inspiration, hopefully, in the book for everybody.
I bet there is for everybody. I mean, I love running. I don't do much competition running. That's not. In fact, maybe I should pick up the book and then get more back into that competition running. But I mean, everyone that has run, regardless of distance, everybody has the common experience. And the common experience in my book is, how do I carry on? I've flagged, where do I go from here? Almost to the point of, how am I going to get home, or how will I reach the finish line? And so there's a universal question in everyone's head at some point in their running experience.
Yeah.
And they'll find the answers in this book. So I'm really, really pleased to have that. We'll put a link for the book, and for Steve, obviously, at the bottom of the show notes. Please go along there and be inspired. So, as you know, Steve, we're here to pick up your 5 adventure habits. I can't think of anyone more qualified in the running world to come up with that. So we'll take a short break now, and then we'll come back. We'll be after your 5 habits. So let's take the break.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're back from the break. Well, Steve, so just before the break, we were talking about your long and illustrious career in running and now how that's sort of manifested itself into your career as a coach, um, and your ambition to help everybody improve their running experience. And that's kind of that can be read through the pages of your book, The Run of Life. But of course, what all our listeners want to know is what your 5 habits, your 5 adventure habits are that you can pass on that means that our listeners are going to get the most out of their adventures. What would be your first habit?
Well, obviously, David, I was thinking of the adventure habits in terms of a long training run or a long training weekend out on the trails of, in my case, Hampshire. And I suppose the first one that came into my head, and I suppose the first one that comes into a lot of people's heads, is preparation. I think it's vital to prepare, and that's in all sorts of ways. Obviously, I mean, I used to go out and I used to run 50 miles in a day. Well, you can't do that if your longest run so far is a 5K or even 10 miles. You've got to build up gradually to be able to cope with of what you're asking your body to do. I mean, the human body is a wonderful thing and can adapt to almost anything given enough gradual adaptation. So
Yeah.
preparation of your body in the context of what you're asking it to do. Also, preparation on the day itself. So, have you got the right kit? Have you got the right clothing? The right shoes? The right even have you picked the route that will that is the right length, that is the right terrain, that is hilly enough if you like hills, is flat if you like the flat, is along a beach or through woods or wherever it might be, that's going to make it interesting for you. So it's all about thinking ahead and being prepared and having what I call a fairly professional approach to your adventure. What you're going
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I mean, being prepared that's one that crops up quite a few times. And
I'm sure.
here in the specific area of running, I guess that's as you're saying, you can't just leap out and do a 50 miler.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the
Ouch.
couch to 5K
Yeah.
type ethos, but then extended out until you could do the distance that's your dream.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I don't I'm I find I'm in my mid 50s, and I gave up road running, as in just running on roads, about a year and a half ago, no, 2 years ago. Didn't like it much in the first place, but just the impact in the end just started causing me so much pain that cross country was the route. Now I run cross countries and I can do much longer distances, much more comfortably, and literally it's just being on softer ground. So I know that
Sure.
my dream is of woods and open spaces rather than tarmac and the hard slog of most marathons.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean now there are many more trail races, and of course it's up to you if you're not actually in a competitive race. It's up to you where you run. Some people find tarmac with its predictability to be kinder to them than off road. But most people are like you, David, and yes, their joints, their knees, their ankles, and their hips respond more kindly to a softer surface, given they've got the right shoes that are going to give them the required amount of grip.
Yeah, that's it. I need to ask you probably offline, but yeah, when I land, I roll over on my ankles once every probably week, and then that
Right.
makes me go. It's one of those painful things. It's almost you can't avoid. Can you avoid it? Can you avoid going over on an ankle, Steve?
No, I don't think 100%.
Yeah.
I think if you got a good grip, if you're going through very muddy woods, then you'd have studs, you'd have mud
Mm.
claws, as it were, that would really grip. If it's kinder off road terrain, then you can get away with road shoes. You can get away with a little bit of grip on the bottom, and shoes now, although they're extremely expensive now, running shoes, that they're all sorts of different types for all sorts of different terrain. And if you go to a decent sports shop, they should be able to say exactly what is the best for where you intend to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. That probably the solution is somewhere in the shoes.
Yeah, well, yes, but also you can't avoid. You're gonna, particularly sort of now in the autumn. There's going to be piles of leaves on tops of roots and things, and you're occasionally going to put your foot on one and go over. And assuming you've worked on your ankle mobility, then that shouldn't cause you too much of a problem. Obviously, it could sprain an ankle if it's severe, if you really do go over.
I've started rotating my ankle even now, Steve. The words of wisdom are working well on me. Okay, so preparedness. That's the first one, and thanks for the pointer there on my going over on the ankle. That's going to be really helpful.
Okay.
So after preparedness, what's your second habit?
I think make it interesting, make it exciting. I think when I was training, I'd use a bank holiday weekend to run 50 miles on each of those 3 days, and that's a hell of a thing to ask your body to do. But I made it exciting by making it point to point. I lived in Basingstoke at the time, so I would run up the Wayfarers Walk, which is a long distance footpath, up to Inkpen Beacon near Hungerford, and then down to Stockbridge, where I had arranged to spend the night, the first night. Then I'd run down the rest of the Test Way, down to Totton and along the South Coast Path to where my in-laws lived in Havant, and then the third day I would run back from Havant up to Basingstoke. Each of those 3 days was about 50 miles, but it was interesting, and I was not repeating it. I know some people love a little loop. I know many long distance race walkers and runners who would never consider doing something like that. They've got their little 1 mile, 2 mile loop, and they go round that literally hundreds of times to in a week to make up the distance they need. But that's never appealed to me. I want to make it interesting and different and exciting, and also when you're
An
out
adventure,
there,
I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, you can come upon unexpected experiences. You can think, okay, there's a shop there. I'll buy a Mars bar there, and and then I'll carry on. I'll get a drink here or whatever, and you're laying yourself a little bit open to the unpredictability of life, which I think is nice, which I think is often missed by people who perhaps plan too much. But I think to make it exciting, to make it interesting, to make it different, to make it appeal to you. I mean, we're all different. That's what appealed to me. That's how I could get 150 miles in on a bank holiday weekend. Other people will have different tactics, if you like, in order to achieve that. But that's what worked for me. And as you say, I'm certainly with you on the trails. So of those 150 miles, most of that was on trails. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've my mind's eye. I'm laughing here because I'm just thinking that Hungerford to Basingstoke and then off Stockbridge and then down. Oh, doing a bit of the southwest coast part. Oh, why not? These are phenomenal distances that I'm familiar with riding mountain bikes along and doing all of that stuff. But it's on foot running. This is really hard stuff, Steve.
I should point
Is
out
it in all of us?
well, yes, it is. I think I should point out that obviously I built up to be able to do that over a number of years. I mean, by the time I was doing that sort of training for ultra distance events, I'd been running for over 20 years. And so I'd put in up to 100 miles a week for over 20 years. So, no, not everybody can do it right now, but everybody, given a certain medical level of fitness, then yes, it is possible for everybody to build up to something like that.
So if you think about the physiology of the human body, there's a lot of leg going on in a human, isn't there? I mean, compared with most animals. So we're clearly designed to do something big with legs. You're proving that point quite adequately here. Okay, so we've got make it exciting, and I so buy into that one. And I might even just plug for a moment, to make it exciting. The thing that I do is well, obviously get a map out, get a pen out, scribble on where it's going to be, and then you can just stuff it in your pocket and
Yeah.
and head out that way. The nice thing about doing it that way as well is when you inevitably get lost, and I bet you got some brilliant stories of getting lost. I mean, that for me that would be 150 miles of getting lost.
Yeah. Well,
um,
that is the secret to doing it a really long way. If you plan to do 20 miles but you get lost and you do 30 miles, well, that's surely a bonus, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's where the best adventures happen, I reckon, when
Yeah.
you get lost.
Mm.
Okay, so on to number three. You've had preparation and make it exciting. What's number three?
Number three, it slightly goes against the preparation in some ways. I think you need less than you think you need. So I used to go out on these very long runs, and I'd have a little bum bag, and I'd have maybe a hat in there and a power bar, as they were then. Those were the protein bars or the energy bars of the 70s and 80s. So very, and McKee's and the wallet, that sort of thing. But really, I think people need less than they think they need, and probably that comes down to layers too, because you warm up if you've got the fitness to be able to keep going reasonably well and not do too much walking on these long outings, these long jaunts, then you're going to keep warm. You don't need hundreds of layers. I think maybe it's sensible to put one extra layer in your bum bag if you can fit that in beside the power bars and everything else. But I used to find a hat was great. If I started to get cold, I put a hat on. Doesn't take up too much room. These thin little nylon hats that you can get and just give you that little bit more warmth, and maybe eat something, and that would see me through, and I wouldn't feel the cold after doing that.
Wow. So really, you would set off on that, say that a 50-mile section of your 150-mile on the weekend. You
Yeah.
would set off with a bum bag with those things inside it, and that would be perfectly adequate. I guess a credit card to buy lunch or whatever on the way, that sort
Yes,
of thing.
that's right. Yeah.
Fan-
But I would say
Fantastic.
you've got to have the fitness to keep going. If you've not got the fitness, you're going to slow down very quickly. You're going to walk very slowly, and you're going to get cold. So you've got to have you've got to the other thing you should have in your bum bag, sort of metaphorically, if you like, is that fitness to be able to keep going at a reasonable pace that will just keep your body warm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting theme that's come up a few times on this from our long distance walker Chris Howard, who sets off with nothing, no money or anything,
Right.
and then sets off to walk across Europe or do the coast of Great Britain or whatever. And makes his, on a number of occasions, just made his way around through the kindness of strangers, and then, doing whatever he can to make money on the way,
Right.
up to special forces veteran last week, Mitch Utterback, and he was all about gearing up. Make sure that you've got all of the gear, and so it's
Mm.
all a different mindset, and it all changes on for the purpose, I suppose, the purpose of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yes.
so, what's your fourth one?
I would say it is relish being able to do what you're doing. So life can be disappointing. We all have our problems, or we all have our woes. But I think if you get out there, you're doing an adventure, whether it's ultra distance running or walking or swimming or anything. Just take a moment from time to time and just relish the fact that you're able to do that. You've got the capability, you've got the freedom, you've got the time, you've got the fitness, you've got the health, if you like, to be able to get out and do that. And as a backup to that, I would also say, yeah, if you're doing that with someone, then relish the companionship, and if you're doing it on your own, then relish the solitude. And I think both of those have their place. For some reason, I couldn't get many people to run 50 miles a day with me, so I did all of that on my on my own. I was a member of Basingstoke. I still am a member of Basingstoke and Midhants, and they've been very very good to me, and I've enjoyed doing track sessions. But nobody would really come out and do a 50-mile run with me. So I used to have to train
Yeah,
on
I
my
wonder
own.
why.
I wonder why. I don't know. Yeah, it's a
It's not
mystery.
not natural for a lot of people, right?
No, no, and I mean, obviously, yeah, they were training for 5,000, 10,000 half marathon, that sort of thing. So I would do
Yeah.
the speed sessions with them, and then the very long runs I would obviously have to rely on my own devices and my own company. Yeah,
Oh, fantastic. So we've got preparation making it exciting, and you need less than you think. And now we've had a good dollop of relish on the top.
yeah.
But what's your fifth and final adventure habit to share with our listeners, Steve?
Well, I remember an ultra distance runner being asked what the secret of success in ultra distance running was, and they said thermals, chocolate, and a sense of humour. And yes, I mean chocolate and thermals have a place. So my fifth one is have a sense of humour. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to, as you said, you are going to get lost, or the shop that you've been looking forward to buying a Mars bar at, or the pub you're looking forward to getting a pint of lemonade at, will be closed. Or the trail that you were going to go down will be that will be closed. The landowner or the council would have decided to move it, and you'll have trouble finding actually how to get through to the next section of where you intended to go. Things do go wrong, so I'd say keep a sense of humour. When things were getting tough in any of those really long runs, I used to say to myself, okay, you're really struggling. What are you going to do, Steve? Are you going to sit down by the side of the trail and have a little cry? No, of course you're not. You're going to you're just going to. What's the alternative? If you sit down here and have a little cry, literally or metaphorically, then you're just going to get cold and going to get even more fed up with life. So you just keep on going, and that's a lesson that
Yeah.
we all learn in any long
Yeah.
distance adventure. Yeah,
Yeah, you've thrown it's almost like a lesson in life, isn't it? You're throwing yourself into this thing, and you're just going to have to come out the other end, whichever condition you come
yeah,
out of it in. Oh, that's great. Well, I always love to end on a sense of humour, so that's that's wonderful. But just give a brief recap. So the first habit is in preparation, and that's preparation of your body in the long term, and in preparation for the day as well, making sure you've got the right bits and pieces with you when you go.
yeah,
But in the preparation, I guess the next habit is to make that preparation exciting and
yeah,
take the opportunity to turn each run into an adventure if you can. And I'd as suggested, I'd throw a map into the bargain there. I mean, why not? Why not? And you need less than you think. So I'd there's got to be a barrier on that somewhere, but certainly you don't want to be carrying a lot when you're doing those distances, right? So
no, no,
I think
and
that's
you don't want to be silly. I mean, there's the story of the Russian marathon runner who got lost in a blizzard and had to keep running hard for 5 hours, or else he would have frozen to death. So yeah, I mean, and obviously, if he'd been in singlet and shorts rather than the tracksuits, he would have wouldn't have
yeah.
survived it. So yeah, there's got to be a balance. I'm not saying I think the gentleman that you quoted who literally had nothing. Yeah, I mean that's a very exciting way of approaching an adventure, and as you say, relying on the kindness of strangers is a very interesting way of seeing
Yeah.
what modern life has to offer.
Yeah. I bet you've had to rely upon that a few times as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There have been lots of people along the way who've either, given me a pint of water or pointed me in a different direction or something, and actually made.
Now, those things mean so much, don't they? I
Yes.
mean, they're massively amplified than if someone just came up and offered you a drink in the office or something
Yes.
like
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
that. So then the next one, the fourth one, was about relishing what you're doing and relishing the company that you're in, if you're in company, or relishing your solo experience and all that funny stuff that goes on inside your head when you're running solo for long distances, I bet.
Absolutely.
Um, And then the fifth one, most importantly, I think, is to keep that sense of humour. And I think we can, in business life and in adventure life and everything, it's a pretty crucial coping mechanism. And you always hope that people are going to reflect that humour back at you if you show it for them too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
wonderful. And Steve, on that point, I've always loved your interjections in and stuff in the in the networking sessions we've shared together. You're a fantastic wordsmith, so I'm so looking forward to reading the book. I know it will be a brilliant read, and so good that you've shared some of the highlights of it in this short podcast with us. And I really want to thank you on behalf of all our listeners. And and they will be adopting your adventure habits. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this pod if you like what you've heard here. And look for the links in the show notes where you'll be able to get hold of Steve's book, The Fabulous The Run of Life, and link to his website as well. So from me, David Overton at The Adventure Habits, and from Steve, say goodbye.
yeah. Goodbye. Yeah, good luck everybody with your adventures. Yeah, as I say, keep a sense of humour, and that is vital. And thank you very much, David, for the opportunity to come on here and talk with you this afternoon. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure as always. Thanks very much, Steve. Bye bye.
Bye.